fellow humans. If you're new, my name is Lily. The Gacha character, Dolly Darling, is the mascot for my channel. I'm from the UK and I'm autistic. Content on this channel so far consists of music videos, reaction videos, memes, reviews, and fan fictions based off my special interests. The channel age rating is 12+, because while it doesn't contain gacha heat, thank God, it contains disturbing moments and dark humour. My goal is to spread autism awareness to the gacha fandom. The gacha games are usually played by Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Most of the time Gen Alpha. Remember that short where I searched up autism gacha movies? Autism representation is surprisingly rare in this fandom. I'm not sure how good these stories are because I haven't actually seen them, but I wouldn't be surprised if the autistic characters are depicted the same way as gay characters. The mini-movies that have casts with no personality and only rely on their orientation. I'm gonna be sad if it's the same way for disabled characters. Autism mini-movies I've come across have the same title, a depressing narrative, and puzzle pieces. Like gay gacha mini-movies, autism gacha mini-movies are repetitive and should be talked about. Maybe you're autistic too, or you have an autistic friend or family member. Given how Gen Alpha also use this app, they're probably still learning. Some kids are impressionable and will believe anything that almost sounds true. Therefore, they'll see the same representation and believe that all autistic people are the same. Just like with LGBT people. What's more disturbing is that internet information outside of Gacha has spread false stuff about autism. Even medias and celebs have spread misinformation on the disability. And a lot of people actually believe this stuff. That's why I'm here to help. Before I begin though, I have rules. 1. This video isn't for self-diagnosis. 2. My advice may differ for others because we're all different. 3. Don't harass anyone who doesn't have the same depictions as me. This is Gacha after all, so we're not expecting masterpieces. 4. This video isn't just for Gacha tubers, but for writers and artists too. With that said, here are things to remember when depicting autism in Gacha stories. Obviously, you need to do your research on autism. So what sources are true and what sources are fake? Don't choose Autism Speaks. Behind their mask, they're a hate group. They have a history for making ableist ads and documentaries on the disability, supporting other terrible autism charities, and spending more on advertising instead of actually helping autistic people. As for good autism charities, I'll admit that they're hard to find. Be careful when researching and supporting an autism charity. Thankfully, the NHS has a good description on autism. Creators can also teach you about autism. I suggest checking out I'm Autistic Now What, Autistically Autistic, Sound of the Forest, and Noah the Otter. They can help you out. There's a current problem for gacha stories where the story has an unoriginal title. This is the same for autism stories. For autism stories, you'll usually have the title My Autism Life or My Autistic Insert Person Here. They're not illegal, but those titles are the same and getting repetitive. Ever heard of the Pixar short Loop? The short is about an autistic girl with autism and mutism. The short isn't exactly called The Autistic Girl, is it? It's called Loop because the girl uses a sound on her phone repeatedly as a stim. There's a lot of shorts depicting autism on YouTube, and most of them have unique titles. If you have a unique title for your story, it'll stand out. I have a confession. I used to think that the colour blue represented autism, because Build-A-Bear Workshop once made a blue bear for Autism Awareness Month. Cringe. I learnt too little too late that charities will use this colour because they think only boys can have autism. Now it is true boys are more likely to be autistic compared to girls, but girls can be autistic too. And no, autism doesn't wear off on women when they grow up. You're probably wondering why I'm wearing blue headphones despite being an autistic girl. Well, the colour blue reminds me of Sonic, Huggy Wuggy, and Abe from Oddworld. There's nothing wrong with autistic women liking blue, so long as it's for a different reason. Then there's the puzzle piece logo. Oh dear. Some charities will use a puzzle piece to show that there's a missing piece to the cure for autism. More on that later. I highly suggest not using those. Instead, use the multicoloured loop wheel. This symbol represents how autism can be different for people. Speaking of which, your interpretation on autism doesn't have to be perfect. Just don't make your character stereotypical like music. Try adding a bit of diversity. Not all of us are highly intelligent, and not all of us are good at maths and science. I never even liked those subjects. I was mostly into literacy and art. I can't believe I was brainwashed into thinking this. But now I know that using the term high or low functioning isn't a good idea. If anything, that's quite offensive. But then, a miracle was invented. The colour wheel pie chart. The colour wheel shows us that again, autism is a spectrum. We're not one and the same, and we're different in our own way. It also helps us identify what we need more support on. For example, there's some chores I can do by myself, and stuff I need help on. I can take out my rubbish bin, make my own bed, get dressed by myself, and lay the table. Even get myself a drink and download stuff. However, I can't cook by myself or do my own laundry. There's some life skills I'm currently learning at the moment, such as running my own bath and buying stuff. Autism is a spectrum, so it can be different for everyone. If traits are different, then so are autistic traits. While it's common for autistic people to speak monotone, not all of us do this. I only do it when I feel drained. A lot of us will pick up an accent depending on what we watch or who we spend time with. Some people call it an autistic accent. It's quite common for some of us to be sensitive to loud noise, which explains why my character is wearing headphones. Ear defenders and playing our own music helps cancel out the noise. When loud noise is very sudden and out of nowhere, it sends us into survival mode. Try not to yell at us as well. If we've done something wrong, you calmly try to talk us through it and suggest ways to fix the problem. It takes us a long time to process information. We won't know what the problem is straight away. So when giving our work criticism, be direct and explain why. Otherwise, we won't know. Finding it hard to communicate is also common for some autistic people. Stutters are common, and so is coming up with what to say. I'll turn to rehearse my lines in my head a lot for future conversations I might have. Too many times, actually. Talking to us takes a lot of patience. Struggles with eye contact are also common. We tend to deal with eye contact in different ways. There's no eye contact. There's look at the person, look away, then look again, rinse and repeat. And they're staring directly at the person to please them. One thing I've learned is that not making eye contact makes it easier for me to listen, which could explain my behaviour during Skype video calls. A lot of autistic people will wear sunglasses in public so they don't have to worry about making eye contact with the person. This makes it easier for them to communicate. We are very literal people and will take things seriously. I've done this many times in my life. For example, if someone's sarcastic, I'll sometimes take it seriously instead of a joke. When it comes to my own sarcasm though, I at least know I'm being sarcastic. But with other people, I don't know. This is something I'm still learning. We love sameness and hate change. Change was a nightmare for me during college. Especially whenever we had to merge classes due to sick teachers. I would refuse to enter a class with either people I hate or too many people. Thankfully, the teachers were understanding and would let me work in a quiet place. We prefer to have our own routine. For example, I prefer to make gacha videos in the morning and evening. I prefer to write or play video games in the afternoon. I will have lunch and dinner at a certain time. And I prefer to try and drink water during the evening. There's this controversial therapy that stops autistic people from stimming. Stimming is actually important because it relaxes us. For example, I'll fiddle with the threads on my clothes. I'll rock back and forth in my chair. I'll rub my feet together. I'll clap my hands. I'll pace around my room, etc. Yet this controversial therapy electric shocks stimmers to act normal. This type of therapy shouldn't be encouraged. If anything, it's illegal. Let us use fidget toys and plushies for God's sake. I'll actually carry a plushie everywhere I go, even in public since it calms my nerves. I have an autistic memory, meaning I can remember a lot of things. Whether they're good things or bad things. Since I can remember bad things people have done, it takes me a long time to forgive them. As always, it differs for others. I can't remember exactly everything because having to remember so much stuff is like cola and cramming it before a dreaded exam. Instead, I prefer the one-at-a-time method of processing. It takes us a while to process other people's emotions. It takes us a while to process how we're feeling. And it takes us a while to know what need we need to take care of. Or a problem we need to fix. I'm sure we all know our 5 senses. Stims can also involve these senses. Touch involves touching a material you like. It also involves a slight pressure to something. Like I said, I'll stroke a plushie and rub them against the side of my head. During the warmer seasons, I can't sleep without feeling pressure. So I'll sleep with a weighted blanket over me. There's also certain textures we don't like. I don't like touching anything wet, soggy, sticky, etc. But only if it isn't planned. Sudden touch will also startle us. Feeling a feather out of nowhere is a jump scare to me. I'm okay with hugs though because I love hugs. Just don't hug an autistic person out of nowhere. Hearing involves listening to a certain sound. Perhaps it could be the voice of a character you like. It could also be a song you keep listening to over and over again. I've lost count of how many times I've listened to Bad Rabbit. Then there's sounds we hate. I hate the sound of running water. I've actually quit watching Gacha cringe comps in order to avoid the sound of running water. I'm sure you know exactly what type of Gacha cringe I'm talking about. Sometimes I'll use exposure therapy to get over this fear. And so far, I've still got a long way to go. Sight includes staring at lights, looking at something you love, or lining up objects. It also includes environment. When I was younger, my family and I were once at my grandma's house for Christmas. I had bought a lot of plastic figurines and food with me. And I have a memory of lining up my Teletubbies and Thimbles toys along the table or windowsill. And I was playing restaurant with these toys and giving them plastic food. I still remember giving Rocket a plastic burger on a small dish. I actually have 3 Littlest Pet Shop figures lined up on my wardrobe. I also used to visit sensory rooms a lot. Sensory rooms are these squishy rooms with dark light and bubble tubes. My school had one, and I remember being obsessed with the bubble tube. I would always imagine my older self swimming and floating around in it. I've also watched a movie, a show, or a video so many times. Just note that watching TV isn't a stim. Smelling includes a certain scent that keeps you zen. Then there's the odour we hate and will make us feel sick. Now, I love the smell of chip shop chips, the sea, McDonald's chicken nuggets and berries. But I hate the smell of cheese and onion crisps, party food and balloons. I also hate balloons due to the sound and texture, even the sight of them. This summer, we went to my great-grandma's house for a catch-up and lunch. Because we didn't go there much, I wasn't familiar with the surroundings. And I remember keeping my plushie near my nose so their scent would keep me sane. Lastly, taste. Some autistic people have safe foods. I love prawn crackers, for example. Then there's food we refuse to eat. I don't like spaghetti due to the texture. Then there's foods we can't eat unless it's with something. I won't eat peas unless they're in gravy. I won't eat peanut butter unless it's with chocolate. I won't eat mushrooms unless they're battered. I won't eat tomatoes unless they're in a cheese panini or on a pizza. Though I'll often take the tomatoes off or out. I refuse to drink anything fizzy because the bubbles burn my tongue. A lot of us will eat food a certain way. I had a toasted ham and cheese sandwich recently, and I remember eating the ham first before the sandwich itself. A common thing I also do is eat my food in a certain order. I'll save the best bit until last. Did you know that there's other disorders common in autistic people? I know a lot of autistic people who also have ADHD. I have anxiety. I've been looking forward to this bit. We have hyperfixations and special interests. Obviously, there's the common special interests. My common special interests include The Sims 4, Five Nights at Freddy's, plushies, etc. There's nothing wrong with having these special interests. But a special interest can be anything. It could be a place, an aesthetic, a hobby, a person, a celeb, a YouTuber, a media, a character, etc. We'll wake up and our first thought is usually our special interest. We spend a lot of our time researching our special interest. It's the type of thing we love to talk about and it's hard for us to stop. My other special interests include rabbits, gaming, writing, etc. Did you know that rabbits twitch their nose in order to smell? My 3 favourite special interests are actually not well known enough on the internet. They're Oddworld, Dark Deception, and Enna. Did you know that Abe has stitches because his mother, Sam, wanted to prevent him from being heard by the Sligs? Did you know that the Mascot Mayhem stage was inspired by Terminator? Did you know that Enna's outfit is the school uniform worn in South America? A lot of us are multi-talented due to our special interests. However, like in real life, like neurotypicals, we can't just master these skills instantly, or your OC will become a Mary Sue. Compare my old videos with my new ones and see how much I've improved. I was hoping I wouldn't come to this. Meltdowns suck. They're the worst and we dread them. We'll do anything to avoid them. Meltdowns occur when we get overly anxious or angry and we start to lose control. Fight, flight, or freeze. Fight meltdowns include screaming, crying, hyperventilating, flailing, jumping, etc. Flight meltdowns include running away from the situation. Freeze meltdowns include tensing up and holding it in, just blacking out, aka shutdowns. Recovering from these meltdowns takes an underestimated amount of time and can leave us burnt out. What should someone do to stop a meltdown? First, let me tell you what you shouldn't do. Don't yell at us. This will just worsen the situation and leave us more overwhelmed. don't lock us in what you call calming rooms. The real name is torture chamber because locking us away because you don't want to deal with our meltdowns makes us feel like we're not worthy of living. Don't pin us to the floor! We will unintentionally hurt you and you could risk our lives. What should you do instead? Take us out of the situation that's keeping us stressed. Take us to a quiet and empty place with open space. Show that you care. Remember that healing from a meltdown takes time. If any other autistic viewers know how to recover from a meltdown, let me know. While it is important to give your autistic OC autistic traits, remember that autism isn't a trait or a disease that can just wear off. When you're born autistic, you're autistic forever. It's not caused by vaccines or cow's milk because don't listen to Peter. And there'll never be a cure for autism. Actually try and give your autistic OC personality and goals. Let me give you some examples with my autistic OCs. First, Edward and Esther. Edward and Esther are autistic twins. They're going to be the main characters of an upcoming original series called Hope Castle. Both are demon-fairy hybrids living in an extended royal family. Edward is a bro, hot-headed, charming, athletic, and sometimes quiet prince. He likes meat, sweet-tasting blood, collecting bones, researching organs, and fitness. He may not look autistic, but that's because he's an expert at masking. Sometimes he'll even forget that he's masking, so it's hard for him to unmask. In private, he has his own stuffed fox, which he uses to practice conversations. Edward has a fear of swimming, so he prefers showers because baths make him fear that he'll drown. If he's ever dragged into swimming, he'll wear armbands or use floats. His sister Esther is also hot-headed with strong emotions. But she's also kind, flirty, formal, geeky and smart. Esther loves nature, gaming, plushies, bacon and cheese, and also horror. She has a lot of figurines and plushies dedicated to the media she's into. It's easy to distract her with her special interest, as she'll talk about it for a long time. Esther isn't used to change, crowds, or sudden loud noises. Unlike Edward, Esther isn't afraid to show that she's autistic. Her bag is full of supplies to help her survive in public. Fidget toys, ear defenders, snacks, gum, and her childhood rabbit plushie. She'll also share her essential items with Edward, whether he asks or not. Esther dislikes the sound of running water, so she prefers baths compared to her brother. If the dishes are being washed by the maids or she's in the loo, she'll wear Bluetooth headphones and play a song or video on her phone. Note how they're both different, yet they still have a lot in common with each other. Both are loyal and care a lot about each other and their safety. They're mostly seen doing a lot of stuff together. Their presence keeps them calm and safe. Their wings change colour depending on their mood. They have a sense of justice and a wish for equality between the demons and aliens. And they will do anything for that equality, even if it means devouring those who will never learn. They do find it hard to trust others though. My newest OC, Sparkles. Sparkles is a dark deception OC of mine. She lives in heaven, is a member of the Joy Joy Gang's friendly rival group, TNT, and the mascot for the Rainbit Diner. She's girly, a bit of a bro, sometimes shy, but can also be hyperactive and giggly. Her hobbies and special interests include gaming, hacking, programming, webcore, making cute food and plushies. She'll play any genre game and thus knows a lot about them. Her favourite thing in the world is her Pixel Cloud. Her Pixel Cloud is a PSP-inspired device where she plays her favourite games. When working at the Rainbit Diner, she'll wear ear defenders to help her focus. She often feels pressured by society into being smart just to prove a point, which could be a sign of masking. The workers in both heaven and hell treat her with respect and like she's part of the team. Even Lucky has his standards when talking to her. Sparkles will actually play an important role in my crossover fic, Sour Smiles. She'll be in charge of watching the security cameras so she can help the Joy gang with exploring the school. After all, hacking is one of her hobbies. Lastly, Harley. Harley's my oldest autistic OC, so she isn't a perfect example. She's an oddworld OC of mine, and was designed for autism education. This could explain why she has an odd design. Harley was adopted by the auctioneer Headley from Munch's Odyssey. She was only a baby at the time, and was raised into a polite and kind child. Her special interests are Magical Spoon Cindy and Fuzzles. Now she's actually good at long division maths, but only because Headley taught her, which makes sense because he's an auctioneer. She can actually manage in school and has friends, but she's had her struggles. She has a stutter, she'll have meltdowns when overwhelmed, and she gets easily frightened. Harley also has a secret fear of toilets due to a nightmare she had when she was 5. So she prefers to use a chamber pot. Drawing keeps her calm. Although she has friends, she prefers to spend her break times by herself, reading. Like I said, not a perfect example, but not terrible either. Notice the diversity in my OCs. Sure, some stuff were common, but also different. Most of them have different traits, different aspirations, different interests, etc. Why don't you try it yourself? Like I mentioned, Edward has a habit for masking. But what exactly is masking? Masking is when autistics hide their autism. Some of us do this to make others feel comfortable. Some behaviours can give it away. Mimicking others to fit in, analysing how they speak, copying facial expressions, etc. Like I said, masking is hard to quit. A lot of maskers out there probably don't even know that they're autistic. Maskers usually get the dreaded "you don't look autistic" criticism. Never say this to them. Autism mums depend on their actions. There's some who actually have good intentions for their autistic child, and then there's some who hog the spotlight. If you're going to give your autistic OC parents, don't make the parent or caregiver make it about themselves. Don't make them embarrassing and paint your OC like they have superpowers and that they're gifted. And don't support autism mums who record meltdowns to spread awareness. Don't make the parent think of the condition like it's a disease. Unless you want to make the parent unlikable. We want caregivers who actually accept us for who we are, but also treat us like actual humans. When it comes to the tone of autism stories, I prefer balance. If you want to make a sad autism story about the struggles, balance it with enjoyably wholesome moments. Happy or funny moments can help uplift the story. The story doesn't exactly need to be about autism if you have an autistic OC. The plot could be about anything really. That's all I could think of. You don't have to use everything I say. Think of it like choosing a flavour and toppings at an ice cream parlour. You can use as little as you want or as much as you like. Hopefully this video is helpful for you. Coming soon from Dolly Darling Home Entertainment, I make a gift for cool Skelebones. The Joy gang discover the motive inside Ban Ban Kindergarten in the upcoming chapter of Sour Smiles. And I bring back an old Gacha series. Remember to drink water. No. God damn it. God, it's always the simple life with you, Penny. I came here to wreck stuff up and brighten up this dull mission with a little bit of joyful danger, and yet here you are, playing it safe and everything's all okie dokie. Whatever, you're in charge of the card. Actually, Lucky, you have a point.
I don't want to be called hangry anymore. I want to be called the notorious P.I.G. You like that? Alright, so stand back, everyone, so I can break this door down.
No, hangry! Do you want all your metal joints stuffed inside a turkey?
I'd like to see you try!
That's not what I meant. There could be monsters here, and I want to play it the stealthy way. You break down that door, they'll hear ya. Once everyone's out of here, then we can tear this place apart. Penny's scaring that thing.